Have you ever experienced that strange phenomenon where the moment you stop investing in someone, they suddenly resurface in your life? One day you're dedicating all your energy, texting, reaching out, putting in the effort, but they're aloof, treating you like an afterthought, as if your presence means nothing. Then you decide to pull back. You stop initiating contact. You stop caring, and out of nowhere they come back, eager for your attention. Why does this happen? It feels almost surreal, doesn't it? Like there's some hidden force at play as soon as you create distance. But trust me, it's not a coincidence. It's rooted in psychology. Grasping this shift can be one of the most empowering insights you gain, particularly when it comes to understanding your relationships and yourself. In today's video, we'll explore 7 reasons why creating distance can cause them to chase after you. These insights aren't mere tricks. They are grounded in both psychological principles and profound wisdom. The first key point to recognize is this: it's not about manipulation or playing mind games. The true power lies in self-mastery. By giving someone space, you're not merely creating longing, you're reclaiming your own strength. You're demonstrating to them, and more importantly to yourself, that their attention isn't what completes you. When you do this, something remarkable happens. They begin to sense your absence in unexpected ways. People often grow complacent. They think they know you inside and out. You're the one always reaching out, always present, always ready to engage. But once you step back and give them the gift of your absence, that sense of comfort disappears, shifting the dynamic. Suddenly they're questioning everything they believed about you. They wonder if they've underestimated you or overlooked something significant, and that uncertainty, that intrigue, is what draws them back in. Let me clarify. This isn't about changing the other person, it's about evolving yourself. When you step back and prioritize your own development, it's not to gain their attention, it's to become the best version of yourself. And that's precisely why they find it hard to resist. People are attracted to strength, independence, and self-sufficiency. When they see you thriving on your own, it makes them want to re-enter your life. So, in this video, we'll unpack the 7 reasons why distancing yourself compels them to come back. Prepare yourself, because by the end, you won't just understand why they return. You'll be equipped to take charge of your relationships and your life. Let's get started. Reason 1. The shock of your absence. Let's dive into the shock of your absence. The first, and arguably the most significant reason they come back after you've stepped away is this: people often grow complacent. They begin to take your presence for granted, assuming you'll always be there for them, always on standby. But the moment you create distance, when you stop being that unwavering source of support, it sends a ripple through their reality. It's a wake-up call that compels them to recognize just how much your presence has influenced their lives. Consider this: when you're constantly available, your worth can start to diminish in their eyes. It's a natural human tendency. We become accustomed to the familiar, thinking it will always be accessible when needed. But once you pull back, that sense of comfort and security evaporates. It's like pulling a safety net away. Suddenly, they're left questioning what happened, why you decided to withdraw. More critically, they start to ponder, what did I overlook? What have I taken for granted? This situation echoes the wisdom of a famous Stoic quote: "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Seneca. When you step back, they begin to envision life without you. Initially, they may not realize your absence, but as time progresses, their mind fills with doubts. They wonder what you're doing, who you're with, and how you've changed. This imagined loss can feel far more intense than the actual reality of losing you, prompting them to seek you out once more. When someone doesn't recognize your value, they stop appreciating the time, attention, and energy you offer. But when you withdraw, when you stop giving, it creates a vacuum. Exactly what compels them to return. They come to understand how much they relied on your presence, even if they didn't acknowledge it before. They start to grasp the significance of your absence, realizing it's like losing a part of themselves they didn't even know mattered. The shock of your absence is the catalyst that forces them to reassess how they treated you. Now, here's the powerful truth. That shock can lead to meaningful change in their behavior. They'll return not because you played a game, but because they've come to recognize just how vital you were in their life. So how do you navigate this effectively? How do you create space without resorting to manipulation? The answer is straightforward. You do it with purpose. You're not stepping back to provoke longing. You're doing it to focus on your own growth and self-improvement. By pulling away, you allow them to experience your absence while you invest time and energy into becoming the best version of yourself. This is where Stoicism plays a crucial role. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control the actions of others. We can only manage our own responses. You can't force someone to value you, nor can you make them appreciate your worth. But you can control how much of your energy you invest in those who fail to see it. By stepping back, you reclaim that energy for yourself. You provide them with the opportunity to reflect and realize what they've lost, and trust me, that realization holds much more weight when it comes from them rather than being something you attempt to instigate. Let's illustrate this with a relationship scenario. Imagine you've been dating someone for some time. Initially, everything was wonderful. They were attentive, engaged, and made you feel cherished. But over time, they began to take you for granted, relying on you to always initiate contact, make plans, and prioritize them. Gradually, you became the one doing all the work while they felt comfortable just coasting along, assuming you'd always be there. Now, suppose you decide to step back. You stop reaching out first. You stop making plans and redirect your focus onto your own life. At first, they might not even notice your absence, but as time passes, they'll start to feel it. They'll miss your texts, your attention, and your efforts. And that's when the shock sets in. They come to the realization that they've overlooked your value, and now they're scrambling to regain your favor. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about demonstrating that your time and energy are precious. When they feel the shock of your absence, it confronts them with the truth that they took you for granted. And that's when they return, ready to invest the effort they should have been making all along. Now, I understand you might worry about pulling back. What if they don't come back? Here's the truth. Stepping back can be challenging because it forces you to face your own fears. The fear of losing them, of being forgotten, of not mattering to them. But consider this. If someone doesn't return after you've created distance, they likely weren't going to value you in the first place. This step is about reclaiming your power, not about manipulating them into missing you. If they don't come back, that's all right. You're better off without someone who doesn't recognize your worth. But if they do return, it's because they've taken the time to reflect and understand just how significant you were in their life. Think of it like a rubber band. The more you stretch it, the more tension builds. Eventually, when you release it, it snaps back with force. Your absence creates that tension. It builds in their mind until it becomes unbearable, and when they return, it's with a full understanding of what they've been missing. So here's the tough love. Embrace this process. Don't second-guess your decision. Trust in yourself. The shock of your absence is real and impactful, but remember, this is just the beginning. We've only scratched the surface. One step isn't enough to bring about lasting change. You need to stay with me throughout this journey if you truly want to transform your life and become someone worth pursuing. Don't even think about clicking away. You're here to succeed. To succeed, you must commit to this transformation and step into your power. Show me you're ready for this challenge by dropping "Don't take me for granted" in the comments. Let's see who's serious about this journey, because believe me, this is only the start. Reason 2. Curiosity takes over. Curiosity is an incredibly potent force, and it's one of the main reasons they come back after you've created distance. People are instinctively drawn to the unknown, to what they can't fully grasp. When you withdraw, you introduce that very mystery into their lives. While you were always available, they felt like they had you all figured out. No surprises, no uncertainties. But once you stop reaching out, once you give them space, their perspective shifts dramatically. That's when their curiosity kicks in. Initially, they might not even realize you're gone. They might think you're just busy or preoccupied with something. But as time passes without any word from you, their minds begin to race. Why haven't they contacted me? What are they up to? Have they moved on? These questions fill the void left by your absence, and the more they ponder, the stronger their pull back to you. Curiosity creates a tension, a compelling need for them to uncover what they're missing. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When they notice your absence, their reaction is fueled by curiosity, filling that gap with thoughts of you. They start imagining scenarios. Who are you with? What's changed in your life? Are you happier without them? It's this whirlwind of speculation that drives them to reach out. They want answers. They need to understand why you've transformed from the person they thought they knew so well. When every move is predictable, interest tends to wane. But when you become a bit enigmatic, when you're no longer an open book, that's when they start to take notice again. So, how can you harness the power of curiosity without resorting to mind games? The key is to live your life authentically and fully. You're not withdrawing to create a facade. You're stepping back to focus on your own growth. You're pursuing your goals, surrounding yourself with uplifting people, and cultivating a life that excites you. When they see you prioritizing your own happiness over them, it naturally creates a curiosity gap. This isn't a trick. It's simply the result of living for yourself. Let's look at a relationship scenario. Imagine you've always been the one to initiate conversations with your partner. You're the one checking in, making plans, and driving the relationship forward. But then, one day, you decide to stop. You don't send that morning text. You don't inquire about their day. Instead, you redirect your focus to your own life. At first, they might not notice, but over time, they start to wonder, why haven't they reached out? Did I say something wrong? Are they interested in someone else? As curiosity builds, they find themselves reaching out, eager to reconnect. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about demonstrating through your actions that you're not reliant on their attention. When you become less predictable, when you're not always available at the same time and in the same way, you encourage them to reassess how they view you. They begin to realize that they don't know everything about you, that parts of your life are now a mystery which ignites their curiosity. Now, I know pulling back and letting curiosity work its magic can feel daunting. You might worry that if you stop reaching out, they'll forget about you. But here's the truth. If someone can forget you simply because you're not in constant contact, then they weren't truly invested to begin with. The right people, those who genuinely care, will come back. They'll return, not because you've forced them, but because their curiosity naturally draws them back in. Let's use a metaphor. Think of yourself as a flame. When someone is too close, they might not notice its warmth, but when they take a step back, they begin to miss its heat. They start to appreciate the glow and comfort it brings. This is what happens when you give someone space. The distance allows them to see you clearly, to recognize what they took for granted, and their curiosity about why you pulled away compels them to come closer once again. Here's where the real strength of this step lies. By embracing the power of curiosity, you can stop chasing anyone. You'll worry less about their thoughts or whether they'll return because you recognize that curiosity is a natural human response. People are always drawn to what they don't completely understand. When you become less predictable, when you're not easily accessible, you turn into that intriguing puzzle they want to solve. So, let me emphasize this. Fully embrace this step. Don't second-guess your decision. Trust the process. When you offer them the gift of your absence, you're allowing curiosity to work its magic. But remember, this is just the start. One step won't create lasting change. You need to stay with me through the rest of this journey if you want to transform your relationships and become someone they can't help but think about. Reason 3. You break their comfort zone. When you're consistently there for someone, they become accustomed to your presence. They come to expect your support and stop putting in any real effort, believing they've got everything figured out. You turn into a reliable constant, and in relationships, this predictability can foster complacency. They get comfortable thinking you'll always be the one initiating plans and making things happen. But what happens when you decide to pull back? When you remove that safety net they've grown so reliant on? That's when the dynamics shift dramatically. You disrupt their comfort zone, and believe me, this change is significant. Here's the reality. People only appreciate what they fear they might lose. When someone knows you'll always be there, regardless of the situation, they lose the motivation to invest in the relationship. However, once you take a step back, they feel the impact, and it can be jarring. Suddenly, you're no longer that predictable presence, and they find themselves questioning what went wrong. In this unfamiliar space, they start to reassess their feelings and actions. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus remarked, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This concept translates to relationships as well. The individual who took you for granted comes to realize how little they valued you until you were no longer present. Now, their desires shift. They start yearning for the comfort of your company, for the assurance that you'll be there for them. Your absence transforms into something they deeply crave. By breaking their comfort zone, you prompt them to recognize how much they relied on you. When someone is at ease, they don't feel compelled to reflect on their behavior or make changes. But when you step back, you compel them to confront their own complacency. They're forced to acknowledge that perhaps they weren't contributing as they should have, and that's where the real transformation begins. In breaking their comfort zone, you give them the chance to grow, to understand that they must step up if they want to keep you in their life. Yet I won't sugarcoat it. Pulling back can be tough. The urge to reach out and fix things is strong. It feels like losing control, but in reality, you're regaining control. You're reclaiming your power by refusing to be the one who continually holds the relationship together. It's natural to feel uncertain about whether they'll notice or care, but rest assured they will. When you stop prioritizing them, it forces them to question why you're no longer as available or engaged. In that moment of reflection, they begin to recognize the void you've left behind. They start to miss the little things, the effort and care that once defined your interactions. Here's the kicker. Breaking someone's comfort zone doesn't just change their actions, it alters how they perceive you. You transition from being someone they expected to always be present to someone they now realize they must earn back into their life. Picture this. You're in a relationship where you've always taken the initiative, setting plans, sparking conversations, putting in all the work. Over time, your partner gets used to this dynamic, feeling no need to try harder because they know you'll always be there. But then, one day, You decide to change things up. You stop reaching out first, you stop bending over backwards, and you begin to focus on your own needs. Initially, they might not notice the shift, but as time passes they will feel the absence. They'll realize how much of the relationship was reliant on your efforts. And that's when they'll come back, not just to reconnect, but with a newfound determination to contribute. They'll understand that you're no longer someone they can afford to take for granted. Reason 4. The fear of replacement. I get it. Stepping back can feel daunting, especially when you're the one who's always been the fixer. Letting go and trusting that they'll come back on their own is challenging. But here's the reality. Creating space isn't about playing games or seeking revenge. It's about giving them the opportunity to recognize that they also need to invest effort. It's about establishing a balance, and that balance emerges when they start feeling the discomfort of your absence. When you break away from their comfort zone, you initiate a significant change in the relationship dynamic. No longer can they take your presence for granted. Now they must step up if they wish to keep you in their life. That discomfort, the realization that you're not just a constant, compels them to return with a new understanding of your value. Think of it like this. You've been the warmth in their life, the cozy blanket that offers comfort. But when you pull that warmth away, they find themselves exposed to the cold. It's only then that they understand how much they relied on your warmth, but they must work for it to regain it. Now, let this sink in. By breaking their comfort zone, you show them that you refuse to be taken for granted. You're no longer just their fallback option or emotional safety net. By stepping back, you allow them to feel the weight of your absence, which prompts reflection on their part. When they come back, and they will, it's with the realization that they need to actively participate in the relationship, not simply assume you'll always be there. But let's be clear, this isn't the end of the journey. Breaking their comfort zone is only the beginning. This is step 4, and if you're truly committed to transforming your relationships and yourself, you must stay engaged throughout this process. One step won't bring about lasting change. So banish any thoughts of walking away if you're serious about reclaiming your power and becoming someone they actively seek. Stay with me until the end. Embrace the challenge to transform your life and drop "I won't be overlooked" in the comments. Let's see who's ready to take this journey seriously, because trust me, this is just the beginning. Reason 5. Your confidence becomes magnetic. Confidence is an incredibly attractive force. When you take a step back from someone, a remarkable transformation begins. You start to evolve. This evolution is fueled by a newfound sense of self-assurance. True confidence isn't loud or flashy. It's a calm, unwavering belief in your own value. It's the realization that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's opinion. As you shift your focus to self-care, prioritizing your ambitions, interests, and personal growth, you start to emit a radiance that is impossible to overlook. Others are instinctively drawn to those who possess a strong sense of self and don't rely on external validation. The person who once overlooked your importance begins to see the changes in you. You're no longer in pursuit of their attention. You've discovered something even more compelling, your own inner strength. This change in the relationship dynamic is what makes your confidence so magnetic. The individual who thought they had you all figured out is now intrigued by your self-assuredness, and that curiosity pulls them closer. They realize you no longer seek their approval, and that realization ignites a desire for your attention again. Confidence isn't about wearing a mask. It's about embracing your true self and celebrating it. The more you nurture your own growth, the more captivating you become, revealing just how much they underestimated you all along. Reason 6. The scarcity principle. When something is always within reach, it often loses its significance. This is especially true in relationships. If you're consistently available and always around, your presence can become a backdrop rather than a highlight. However, when you start to create distance, an interesting transformation occurs. You become a rare find. Scarcity elevates your value. As your availability decreases, their desire for you begins to intensify. This is the essence of the scarcity principle. By limiting how often you engage, you compel them to reassess the importance of your presence in their life. Suddenly, your attention isn't something they can take for granted, and they start to realize how much they depended on it. It's a natural instinct to crave what feels unattainable, and by stepping back, you're tapping into that inherent human desire. This isn't about playing games. It's about asserting that your time and energy hold value. You're signaling that you won't expend your resources on someone who isn't meeting you halfway. When they recognize that they can no longer access you as easily, it ignites a motivation within them to put in the effort to regain your attention. This shift not only alters the dynamics, but also prompts them to see your worth in a new light, one they may have overlooked before. However, it's crucial that this withdrawal is authentic. You're stepping back not to manipulate, but to genuinely prioritize your own needs. When they sense the scarcity of your attention, they'll understand they can't take you for granted anymore. That's when they'll be inspired to come back, finally appreciating the value of what they once overlooked. Reason 7. The realization of what they've lost. Let's explore a compelling catalyst that brings them back after you've created some distance, the realization of what they've lost. This moment is transformative. It's when the truth about your absence finally sinks in. They begin to reflect on all the ways you enriched their life, and the weight of that understanding can be profound. Initially, this awareness doesn't happen overnight. It unfolds gradually. When someone is used to having you around, they often overlook the value you add to their daily existence. Your support, kindness, and presence become so familiar that they take them for granted, like background noise in their life. But once you withdraw, it's as if a vital part of their world has vanished. At first, they might not even notice your absence, attributing it to busyness or distractions. However, as time passes, that empty space you left becomes more glaring. It's the little things that stand out. The texts you used to send, the plans you made together, the laughter you shared. Without those moments, they start to realize how much they relied on you, prompting them to confront an uncomfortable truth. Socrates wisely noted, "He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have." They had your companionship, your affection, and yet they didn't fully value it until it was gone. Now that you've stepped back, they face the stark reality that they overlooked something precious. Here's the crucial insight. True understanding of your worth often only comes when you're no longer present. When they recognize what they've lost, it's not just about the absence of your company. It's an awakening to the deeper impact you had on their life. They begin to recall the emotional support, stability, and care you provided. It's as if they're revisiting all the reasons they were drawn to you, but this time those memories are tinged with regret, making them acutely aware of their missteps. Imagine this. You've been a pillar of support for someone, always there to help them navigate challenges. You poured your energy into the relationship, but gradually they became complacent and distant. When you decide to withdraw, at first they may not notice, but soon enough they'll feel your absence. They'll miss the comfort of your understanding, and that's when the realization of what they've lost hits them hard. This recognition forces them into introspection. They start to ask themselves, how did I overlook this? How did I let them go? Those questions ignite a mix of emotions they can no longer ignore. They regret not appreciating you when you were there. And now they're faced with the possibility that it might be too late to reclaim what was lost. But here's the key. Your withdrawal isn't a punishment. It's a way for you to reclaim your energy and focus on your own growth. If they come back, it's because they genuinely see your value, not because you orchestrated it. The real power lies in their own realization of what they almost let slip away. So remember, giving someone space allows them to reflect on their actions and recognize how they took you for granted. When that moment of clarity arrives, it can be like a light bulb turning on, illuminating the depth of what you brought into their life. Now, don't stop here. The realization of what they've lost is a significant force, but it's only one part of reclaiming your power and transforming your relationships. If you want lasting change, you need to commit to the entire journey. This process isn't just about making them miss you, it's about becoming the best version of yourself. Stick with me on this path. Let me know you're ready to embrace your worth by dropping "I'm unstoppable" in the comments. Together, let's keep moving forward because this is just the beginning.